beginning. It's because of that reason, guys. We don't want someone to learn that their match doesn't matter or does matter more, and then there's more pressure or something along those lines, right? We want them focusing on what is at hand. And currently, it's a TVP on Oxide in the bottom left. As the blue Protoss for Team Cascade, he is SKillous.
And up here in the top right-hand side of the map, we have the biggest of Gabe's. He is going to be HeRoMaRiNE, representing Mouse Sports. So, can I just say one of my favorite things that I've been enjoying about these camera things is actually, it's like a really small, subtle thing. Looking at the lighting on someone like, for example, HeRoMaRiNE's camera, you can actually see how often they're looking at a part of the map that they don't have vision of, because like their entire face gets a lot darker when they look at like a darkened area on the screen versus their own base. It's like a really small thing, but I really appreciate like how much they're setting up their old location hotkeys, how much they're looking at like different parts of the map and stuff.
My favorite thing is that you can tell that HeRoMaRiNE is getting prepared for the Tour de France afterwards. So.
All right, Petit Drogo, calm down, settle down.
Drogo really does have the best tweets.
He does. You know what? Our wonderful producer was like, you know, if there are some great tweets from some of the players playing and stuff, you should send them my way. We can like show them on stream and stuff. We have fewer matches today, so we have a bit more time. We should just start pulling up the history of Drogo tweets the whole time. Just start showing, like, we'll just have like a meme segment where we're just like, by the way, guys, here's another one of Petit Drogo's tweets. Go follow him.
Yeah, he's got that insightful commentary that only a professional Protoss would, you know. Absolutely.
We can't do math very well, but my God, can we meme?
Yeah. Yes, that's true. It's actually something you do seem to have all the memesters. That's right. Anyways, we got just a little bit of the harassment that we are used to in this stage. Stargate opener for SKillous. So, I mean, Oxide, Stargate, I'm not too surprised, but I do wonder how much of any Protoss facing HeRoMaRiNE who's been watching his previous losses, because for a while, HeRoMaRiNE has not been losing. Right? I'd say a month ago, he just wasn't losing to Protoss.
Yes.
He was actually just like slam dunking them and really making them look quite silly. And then he started losing occasionally, and then he started losing actual series. So one of the things he lost to was actually Goblin's style of play, which he was supposed to have kind of figured out, and then still lost to it. So I don't know if it's necessarily a HeRoMaRiNE weakness truly and entirely, or just as he's been kind of saying, like not feeling so great or just making the wrong calls, not seeming to be that magic anymore. But I wouldn't be surprised if people, and in this case SKillous, actually think like, oh, I can try and abuse this.
I think it's going to be the big question is how does SKillous approach this matchup from HeRoMaRiNE, and what adaptations is HeRoMaRiNE making to come into this match? Looks like he's going to be able to find that first Adept very early on. Adept does manage to shade on its way out of there, stays alive for a bit, and will be able to start regenerating the shield. So I don't think the Hellion wants to take on the Adept anymore by itself, but first Phoenix makes its way across the map and should get a good scout out on everything, mostly just kind of where the add-ons are, what units are going to be popping out after that first Hellion.
So something already interesting, though, is that HeRoMaRiNE doesn't go for a Viking here. He actually adds on a Medivac. So sometimes, even against the Phoenix opener, you'll see people go for the Widowmine drop and just be like, maybe I can hide it and get the damage done. Very risky, but it happens. In this case, it is actually a Cyclone, but then a Medivac. So Medivac usually means aggression, right? But in this case, it would be kind of odd to see him go across the map and be aggressive against someone who has the Phoenix, has the scouting. It can work, you just kind of have to, like, you know, I feel like you already have to get some damage done, like bop a Phoenix that's trying to get too aggressive or something along those lines. And then usually you also do it with Vikings. You just pull a couple SCVs, take your tanks, your Cyclones, and your Vikings and go across the map. So I don't know why he built the Medivac, but to do a dual-pronged aggression would be my guess. Oh, this is awkward. Oh.
Well, we don't need him for this match, right? We could drop him.
Oh, of course not. I was like, wow, HeRoMaRiNE is awfully still on his camera, guys.
Yeah.
Check him out.
Oh, that's actually a good point. Yeah, the camera is a good sign that it's not just StarCraft. Okay. Well, as we saw at the very end there, Skill's taking a sip of his tea. We are probably going to just be waiting for HeRoMaRinE to return to the internet and finish off this series. But definitely already kind of a fun start. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll finish my thought at the very least and say that I think he's going to set up a drop in the main and then an attack at the front. But he could just actually push and have the medevac trying to heal his units or ferry the tank across as well. A couple different options, but slight difference. He does like to try and punish these early expansions with a Stargate, I should say, and that's exactly what he scouted before he did whatever he did, lost internet or computer crashed. So that's where we'll leave off.
I'm blessed that I have the units tab pulled up, Zombie Grub. So just to like build onto your point and everything, if you are up against one of those Stargates, like you're heavily relying on the Phoenix to be able to do quite a bit because it's just 2 Stalkers and 4 Phoenix. That's the entire unit count right now of SKillous besides probes. So you are relying on a very small squadron of units to actually make a whole lot happen over there. And well, if SKillous isn't absolutely perfect with this and also intercepting a potential push out, or like you said, catching the medevac and everything, if it tries to go for that elevator pull up into the main base, it can get a bit dicey there for SKillous. But it looks like we're just going to end up doing the good old regame. According to our production, it looks like HeRoMaRiNE's PC actually just went for the full-on blue screen. So we'll take a little bit.
Yeah, awfully scary when that happens. Sometimes it just happens and then like for no reason at all, basically. And then sometimes it happens and you're just constantly worried it's going to happen again, which isn't exactly what you want to be worrying about in a StarCraft game.
Yeah.
But,
probably not, especially when you have to play like, the entire best of 3 and it's like, is this going to happen again in game 2 or something? But, HeRoMaRiNE is back. We're going to, of course, be doing a resume from replay, I believe now, just because decent amount of the game was played out, build orders and stuff were formulated. So we're going to see where things go from there.
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah, I think there is we have to wait for the invite, so.
Exactly, it's a little bit of a buggerino here, so just making sure the admin knows that. But anyways, yeah, far too much of the game is played out. So we're gonna have that little cover so they don't see what each other's doing, because that whole medevac thing that I was hyping up, it seems like a very small difference, and I guess ultimately it is, because it can kind of, it heals as opposed to add damage like a Viking would, but honestly, even a Viking could go and harass, same as a medevac could go and harass. Anyways, the Phoenix haven't scouted that yet, I believe. Right?
Yeah.
As far as the starport production goes, they could have just been default guessing that it was a Viking, which might tell them something different. But you're talking about how important it is to scout as long as he sees an actual move out. As soon as those Marines step out of the natural, SKillous should know about it and be like, oh, okay, chill batteries, which I think he was already getting one around his 3rd, but maybe even a 2nd one. And then it's not the worst time to disconnect, right? Like not during an engagement, but this is like, I don't know, pretty close to the worst time actually, as things are about to get started. Whoops.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you get that momentum going, you're building up the whole mechanical skill and everything and settling in, and you're like, okay, I'm getting ready for the attack, I was like, oh, okay, it's gonna stop over here. So it'll be interesting to see how both of these players are able to kind of like bounce back from that. I also think on the topic of scouting and everything, I could be misremembering, but I know that this Phoenix all went to like the far top left-hand side, which HeRoMaRiNE was able to like draw the Phoenix all the way up to the corner of the map with his single Hellion that had like 2 hit points left over. So it may actually be if there's a chance that those Phoenix don't immediately manage to catch wind of the army moving out. And HeRoMaRiNE could potentially catch SKillous a bit off guard here, just depending on how things go, especially since, again, like you resume from replay, you jump back into the game and you're like, what was I doing 4 seconds before this game stopped? And I had to it's like you're trying to get back into all of the little cycles that you had already built into the game.
No, absolutely. It's definitely something that just like halts momentum. And in this case, it's like, I guess, mental momentum, but it's still pretty darn important. Honestly, overall though, if SKillous didn't come into this game saying, I'm going to go Stargate, I'm going to be super paranoid of him doing one of those tank attacks, then that's on SKillous, actually. SKillous, that should be immediately what he's thinking of. As soon as he drops down that Stargate and it's scouted, he'd be like, oh, HeRoMaRiNE's going to try and bop it. That's what HeRoMaRiNE's been doing, all right? Like, it's possible that HeRoMaRiNE's like, he'll know that, and then I'll go for a 3rd CC, but then he would have scouted that with this Phoenix. So as soon as he sees this 1-1 setup, that's got to be what he's thinking of. Hopefully this like 60-second pause didn't make him forget to look for that. And it is really just like how good can you execute it? How good can your Phoenix be to support before the actual engagement? And can you get any surrounds or shield battery timing? Which now that we're back into game, I can confidently say that shield battery is actually not at the third. So that could be an issue.
All right, well, we're going to see how impactful that is as we are getting ready to jump back into that game. I think the game has resumed, and here we go. So, like you were saying, no shield batteries at that third. The Stalkers have just started moving out, and I was saying this before, but it's only Phoenix and 2 Stalkers out right now, with a couple of the gateways finishing up. Oh, that's a very important scout. Seeing not only these units, but seeing the SCVs even pulled along over here, this should immediately trigger those 3 shield batteries you were talking about, Zombie Grub.
Yeah, and with the tank being ferried by the medevac, it wasn't really, you didn't drag yourself down in the timing, and you didn't potentially get that lifted up by the Phoenix, right? So just getting into place as fast and as confidently as possible with that medevac and a little bit of extra healing. Bunker comes down. Shield battery was, one of them was available, but he does need the extra ones. Overcharge eventually will disappear, and that's when you really need the extras. There they are. You also need a couple more units, honestly. Like, there's just not a lot of units. There's so many more Phoenix.
Reaper is actually getting a little bit of damage done inside that natural because SKillous really just doesn't have any units to spare for this. Bunker is going to be able to finish up in those Phoenix. They're managing to actually pick up a couple of these reinforcements. The Viking is also going to end up falling over here. These Marines don't exactly have stim or anything, so they can't really come too close or quickly to defend. And a lot of them are dying. The Phoenix staying alive as well. Man, the firepower for this attack really, really getting thwarted here.
That was excellent control by SKillous too. Like, it would have been so easy to lose those 2 weak Phoenix because you're not even just like single clicking and moving them away, but he actually was able to box them, move them away, and still kill whatever he had lifted. So if you lose 2 Phoenix, that could be pretty important. Instead, he still has all 6 of them alive. He's gonna be up to 7 with this one, I guess.
Yeah, he lost 1, but I mean, he is getting so many pickups in return, and now charge is complete. He's gonna be able to intercept a couple of these Marines. Ends up taking a lot of damage after the pickup there, but are these bunkers going to be enough for HeRoMaRinE to hold on? He's losing the siege tanks. He's losing one of the bunkers. And I think with enough zealots alive, he should be able to break through this.
That was a little bit scary with SKillous not bringing back the Phoenix. Because imagine a Phoenix with the tanks. That's probably like a no-brainer. But that was actually a very good call by him. And again, still his Phoenix are alive. He's only losing 1. So he's back up to 7, going up to 8. He's obviously got charge. So HeRoMaRinE has to be careful about how he pushes out in the future. And he's now going to use his Phoenix to harass, which they are very good at that. I would say not a great start for HeRoMaRinE.
Zombie Grub, let me ask you something. Would you say that you usually want to have more Marines than there are Phoenix?
Usually, yes.
Typically, yes. Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to get the expert analyst opinion on that. Pretty hard to defend when you don't have that, or, defenses back at home. GG, SKillous, getting that first victory.
Well, he played that really well. HeRoMaRinE, I do gotta wonder if you just gotta stop doing those things, because sometimes you can do it, it gets just enough damage, and you're like, oh, I've got the momentum, fantastic. Sometimes you do it and it works out perfectly, you win, fantastic. But it feels like, I don't know, outside of people kind of forgetting how powerful it can be, so I think like Goblin died to it, but it was also because he took like a bunker to those natural and stuff happened there. I feel like the Protosses are getting a lot better at it, Like, I feel like it's not working so much for HeRoMaRinE anymore, which, it was unfair because I'm sure he's playing on ladder when it's wins all the time and all that type of stuff. But SKillous actually just showed how to deal with that, how to prepare for it, and then how to like execute some of the defenses, picking up those reinforcements and saving all his Phoenix, and then buying time while building shield batteries and getting charge as well. Yeah, that was just too powerful of a defense. Not a fantastic game from HeRoMaRinE to start things off.
Yeah, and even just getting vision of the units coming across the map, like you said, SKillous just did all of that really, really well. And even just the interception of all those units moving across the map, outside of HeRoMaRinE abandoning his post at the front and bringing a lot of those units back even earlier, or pooling up the reinforcements, like, I'm not sure how you're exactly supposed to make that work and not just lose tons of units there rallying across the map against the Phoenix. Like, I actually think that SKillous just played that really, really well. Did a great job with the control, like you were saying. And I'm not sure, like, how much HeRoMaRinE could have even adapted there. Like, Protoss players just intercepting everything and handling everything so well. Like, there's only so much it feels like you can do.
I will throw out there that we've seen similar setups for holds, and then the Protoss player immediately starts losing Phoenix. You know, they go after the reinforcements, they misjudge, they lose 2-3 Phoenix, they realize they don't have any more lifts, and they didn't kill the units either, so suddenly it is reinforcements matching the front line. Like, that can go topsy-turvy just based off of that alone. And I'm sure there's also a lot of build differences that we didn't quite catch in the, you know, there was that very awkward just pause in the game. That probably doesn't feel so great for HeRoMaRiNE now, as he is down 1. In the bottom right of our Manta side, he is the Mouse Esports player, HeRoMaRiNE.
And he is facing off against this young lad up here on the top left-hand side of the map, the blue Protoss player. He is SKillous. Proudly representing Team Cascade, and currently, again, like, his position in the group is that he is second in the group. You know, before all these games get played out today, that is his position. HeRoMaRiNE is actually on that borderline edge case right now. He's got a 3-way tie for 3-3 series score with Marine Lord and Goblin. Every single map is going to matter potentially. Even if HeRoMaRiNE is able to, you know, turn this back around and make this a 2-1, the fact that he actually lost one extra map could end up playing a bit of an impact here. We're gonna have to wait and see how things all pan out in the end, but every map is really gonna end up mattering for both these players.
Yeah, no kidding. And then even if it were to go down to like a head-to-head score, that also would not be good for HeRoMaRiNE.
Probably not, no.
Yeah, he lost
especially since actually, man, you know, since you bring up the head-to-head score, I think head-to-head score is actually much further down on the tiebreaker list of things, because it goes like, first it goes series score, then it goes like map differential, then it goes by wins, then it goes by losses, then it's head-to-head or something. But HeRoMaRiNE, if it does somehow make it all the way to head-to-head, the people he's really competing with the most on are Marine Lord and Goblin. So I figure he lost to both of them.
That's why I brought it up.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
That's it's unlikely to go down that far. But you know, this is probably one of the closest groups we'll have to that potential.
Man, what a crazy, this group and also Group D are pretty crazy. Group D actually has I played it out in like math, and I was able to find a scenario where it becomes a 5-way tie in series score in Group D, and potentially you can actually have all 5 players are just tied in series score, so it comes down to head-to-head and like map-to-map, I mean. That's pretty crazy.
So eventually we have to do the rock, paper, scissors, right? That went over so well.
That actually is one of the tiebreakers. I'm not joking. But you know, it's an unrealistic tiebreaker because it's physically impossible to happen because they go to head-to-head first. So, and someone has to have won that.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't think anyone wants a rock, paper, scissors match again. You know, there's plenty of people in chat that are like, well, that would never have happened. And it's like, well, it did happen.
Oh, you younglings out there.
Yep, good times. All right, so another Stargate opener from SKillous, and you know, it almost feels like HeRoMaRiNE is falling into the Protoss players' traps lately. You know, they're like, oh, look at me, Stargate and Fast Third Nexus, come chase me, and then he does, and they just win against them anyways. So, but it's unfortunate though is that you don't, as HeRoMaRiNE, you don't want to just take away the option of doing that aggression. You know, like he probably could go for his own fast third CC and try and play out that type of game, but that also has, you know, its problems. And the fact that it's easily scoutable by someone going for a Stargate makes it even, you know, more scary to go into. You want to have the option of doing an attack on that third and scaring your Protoss opponent. Yeah. But it is a bit of a change-up, a Raven. But that's about it.
That's going to be interesting. I want to note the Reaper didn't actually scout out the Stargate. I love the positioning of that Stargate, by the way, from Skills. I'm going to absolutely steal that because it makes it a lot harder for that Reaper to actually get in, and the positioning of the Stalker made it hard. But Oracle is able to move in because of it. Gets 3 workers already and is still sitting at full hit points outside of shield. Gonna be able to find a 4th. Oh! Ends up dying to the very, very well hidden Widowmine, though. The classic tale of the Widowmine hides behind the gas geyser.
Yep, and almost got a 3rd probe. Would have helped even things up, but even as is, the fact that he killed the Oracle, I think, kind of makes up for any extra losses he took. It was a bit unfortunate to take any losses. He's now going to add on a Phoenix, or a Cyclone, knowing that it is probably going to go into Phoenix. This is where opening up with a Raven gets a little bit weird. You know, there was a phase where Raven openers were just the go-to, and even if they were going to open with Phoenix, you're like, nah, I'm going to try and test it and hide it. Now, if you know it was Phoenix, I don't think anyone really tries to go for Raven. So we're going to see if HeRoMaRinE remembers that phase, and then, yeah, usually you just tuck the Raven all the way back into the bottom right corner, in fact. Oh, and it's up against, this is actually, I really don't know if I like the Raven here. You know, Raven against Phoenix Colossus, maybe you can somehow circumvent the Phoenix, still get the Colossus taken out of the equation. Phoenix Charge? Yeah, you could get an anti-armor missile, but, like, is it going to be a good one? And is it going to matter if you don't identify what this is?
Yeah, it's how much value are you really getting out of the Raven considering the sacrifices you're making to build 5 additional gateways being added on, going up to the 8. There's going to be the huge flood of Zealots going to be available here for SKillous in a very short period of time.
He's in a proxy gateway too. I mean, with just pure Zealot warpings, you could probably go for 9 gateways. Yeah, there you go. Oh man, this is so already going Phoenix Charge, you can try and catch your opponent off guard. They're like, oh, I'm going to do a typical Terran push. Oh, and then they just get totally taken down. To actually even do an all-in, like be aggressive, be the one to move into them. Yeah, that could be the like extra big surprise that HeRoMaRinE just wouldn't think of. This could be bad. If he catches wind, if he's at all paranoid about this possibility, then he can set up some defenses, some Sim City maybe, you know, bunkers. But I don't know how he's going to actually see this. Like his Raven's going to get very limited scouting. It's going to see double gas as the natural. It's not, you know, if there was no gas, I think he'd be kind of worried. But, oh, Raven, you're our only hope.
Well, it's going to move into the main base. They'll throw down some auto turret harassment over here. Pick off a couple of probes, slow things down a tiny bit. And the Phoenix are actually just so far behind enemy lines right now, picking off SCVs. They've killed off 5 now that they are just not going to be able to come back home very quickly to pick off that Raven. And now they're starting to make that retreat back, but he might actually just not make the full retreat. I think he's ready for the attack. And I think that one tank does not hold off that many Zealots, actually. Like,
but I think he knows.
I'm not sure, but
HeRoMaRinE is actually like, oh gosh, he's tucked all of his army into his natural. I think he's like aware of the possibility because he scouted so many gateways. Also, if he could have noted there was no forges, or there was one forge but wasn't researching, I guess. I think he might be aware of the possibility, but of course he hasn't like confirmed it yet, and this could be the worst case scenario. He's actually chasing the Phoenix, and then there are the charge lots. He has to run back. The tank will not be helpful at all. The Wood Mines might be. They hit the Phoenix most of the time. SCVs are on hold position to try and hold on, and I think this actually is a decent enough first defense. The tank even lived.
Yeah, oh my god, that whole position on the SCVs really saved HeRoMaRiNE's bacon right there. Now, it's not entirely over. Like you said, it's the first wave. 2 Zealots going to be segmented off to go after the SCVs in the mineral line, also even using some of that splash damage. Here comes the massive charge forward. We'll be able to get the tank this time. Widow Mines reburrow. I mean, they actually hit a lot of the bio over there, but the SCVs again on the hold position in that mineral line. Is that going to be enough? All of the Zealots have, for the most part, gone down. The Phoenix are still alive and trying to get some additional pickoffs, but so many of them so low on hit points, they're going to get pushed back, and HeRoMaRiNE holds.
Yeah, I think just even have like it. I think it really came down to just like the preparation in your mind, right? Like physically, maybe things didn't really change up as far as his defense, no extra bunkers, no Sim City. I mean, his tank was just left alone out there. But as far as him actually being able to corral his units, pull back as soon as he saw a single Zealot, and then hold in the SCVs, those are things that you wouldn't do if you were completely blindsided by it. So excellent last second defense. I think he did, as I said, have a kind of like a guess, and then just worked off of what was actually happening on his screen. So at the end of the day, actually a very good defense. Now, right now, the supplies may not look truly terrible. It's definitely not great. HeRoMaRiNE's up by 30. But keep in mind that also means that like HeRoMaRiNE's army is going to be getting better. He's going to have an upgrade lead with armor finishing compared to SKillous' 1 armor. He's going to have EMPs added in, which even if SKillous didn't add on Storm, if he went into like a fast Colossus follow-up, for instance, then his problem would just be the number of units he has. It's just, it's all types of bad here for SKillous.
Definitely not going to be ideal. Like you said, the army composition for SKillous is going to be a huge problem. We're going to see how he tries to accommodate that. As for now, it's just going to be flooding out more gateway units because that's all he's really got available to him as he adds on a Robo finally. Has the Templar Archives again for the Archons and everything, but still no sign that he is saying, okay, the answer is going to be try and get up Storm or anything. He's just saying, I need to survive. get up the flood of gateway units. This has gotta be where the defense happens at this fourth base.
Having to go through his own choke can be really difficult to do. I mean, for HeRoMaRinE, he can't really go through it too easily either, but his army is better, especially if the Wood Mines are going to be connecting, and then once the EMPs join in, I mean, SKillous' army will just simply disappear. HeRoMaRinE actually trying to push in. I mean, it's possible if he gets trapped, if suddenly Zealots came in from the backside, he wouldn't take that great of a fight, but as long as he's abusing this choke, he's totally safe. He's actually caught SKillous' attempt to get on the backside, so now he's going to find a couple of even, like, maybe 3 units. All right, SKillous can be able to pull away.
Yeah, I'm almost starting to feel like the best hope over here for SKillous is going to be trying to just fly the Phoenix right over this bio, get the friendly fire off on that bioforest, but it's not going to happen. The Widow Mines all go off on those Zealots. They all disappear. It's just really the Archons left. And yes, Archons are tanky units, but every single time this bioforce moves through this choke point, they trade a bit of damage for very, very little from the Archons. But those Force Field's going to finally lock some of these units in. Maybe this is the beginning of what SKillous needed.
I mean, they kind of turned around. The army just moved over to the left side without taking too many losses, and the Zealots were like AI and on top of the force field. So, you know, almost worked against them a little bit. Another couple of force fields looking good, though, and actually maybe grabbing that one medevac. No, barely not. That kind of sucks. That would have been a decent amount of units down. But here, it's like, that was even actually the worst problem for SKillous. Right now is the worst fight. Like, he's gonna, as I said, have 2-2 and EMPs. The Ghosts have come in for HeRoMaRiNE's army. This army went from being better to being, like, laughably better. Like, as long as HeRoMaRiNE gets any EMPs, I feel like he's going to take this fight.
Yeah, and there's not really anything going to be stopping him from getting off some EMPs. There's a pretty good one hitting a couple of the Archons. The shield battery overcharge does help out quite a bit, but you can see an open territory, no longer through the choke point. HeRoMaRiNE's confidence swells, and he moves forward, knocking out all the Archons and forcing out the GG in game number 2.
I love it sometimes. You're like, well, that's a lot of charge lots on Archons, or specifically that's a lot of Archons, right? A lot of cotton balls, and then the EMP hits, and suddenly it's just like, oh, where'd they go? There's just now like a blank spot in the middle of the Protoss army. But that is the benefit there. That is what SKillous knew he'd have trouble with if his attack didn't do damage, and it really did not do a whole lot, not even in the economy. Didn't manage to get that many SCVs. So excellent read from HeRoMaRiNE. He brings it to a tie score. When we come back, it is game 3.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, after that short break, ready to move into the next game. It's a tied-up series, 1-1 between these two players in a very, very contentious group. For both these players, this match actually is going to mean quite a bit. We're going to see who's going to be able to lock it down.
The fact they already lost, one map piece now is just like, it's worrying for both of them, basically.
Yeah.
Love the Swift 2-0. And I really liked SKillous's plan, as far as like the whole planning a best of series out. So we talked a lot about that with Showtime and the Sport Crawler, no Sport Crawler. Well, in that game, I think it really is like there's a couple of different options when it comes to Phoenix openers. And choosing the defensive one and then the offensive one can really trip up your opponent. It didn't trip up HeRoMaRinE quite enough. But we'll see what the third option is on Pillars of Gold for this guy in the top right. As the blue Protoss for Cascade, he is SKillous.
Down here on the bottom left-hand side of the map, we have the red Terran player from Mouse Esports. He is HeRoMaRinE.
So, Pillars of Gold, one of the, I guess, most popular maps for Stargate openers. New maps might still be kind of being figured out as far as what exactly is going to settle as the go-to, but Pillars of Gold, after a brief, what is this map like, what do I do here, what's going on, it became a Stargate into Colossus map. A lot. And that is what so far SKillous has not shown us. I guess we don't really know what he intended of the first game, but he did go for charge, he did go for an upgrade, so I think he was going for that style, and then second game going for an all-in. I think, I'm going to say it, this game, Colossus Phoenix.
I'm actually, I'm with you on that, Zombie Grab, because I do think that SKillous has been one of those players that is able to show like a nice little diversity of the styles and everything. And one of the best ways to actually trigger out that diversity is to do something that looks somewhat similar, but then deviates a little bit further on, kind of is able to catch your opponent either a little bit off guard or just force them to adapt to different styles every single game. Never really game will be like, okay, I know the mistake I made in that last game, now I get to correct it. No, you're actually facing something a little bit different this game.
It's tricky, man. It's especially when it does come down something like a Phoenix Charge and Phoenix Charge all in. That those can be really difficult to scout. And the fact that HeRoMaRinE is able to pick up just enough and kind of be, I guess, maybe alert to the possibility last game is probably what saved him. As I said, that Raven opener I don't think is ultimately what you would love, but it did scout a bit, and it actually did get some probes too, which wasn't the main focus of that game, but it was constantly harassing.
Yeah. Well, Reaper's gonna make its way in over here, is gonna run straight into that Adept and nope, out of there for a bit. Kind of says, okay, yeah, not really gonna find an opening over there, so he's gonna try and move back between the Reaper hop-up spot and that front area. But yeah, we just got a robo happening behind all this for skill, so it's actually not gonna be the Stargate this game.
Okay, all right. He might go into just like, I mean, it's not really super popular, and I'd say it's like old, I think, but anyways, it'd be a surprise, but like right into Colossus, or it could be something just like a really different. I mean, you could even be going for a bit of a pressure build, but that is something that HeRoMaRinE needs to scout. I think just to like confirm to himself that it's no longer that Stargate stuff. He might already be defaulting to, I got the scout, nicely done. He might have defaulted to getting a Cyclone and a Viking, right? Just out of the prediction, just out of the good guess, the probability. But now, now he could actually go for the Widowmine drop, which I think is what he's setting up.
Okay, well, making Widowmines is definitely a good first step for going for the Widowmine drop, so I like it. We got the third base being thrown down for SKillous. He's going to actually go for that northern third base, which is a little bit further away from your opponents. It's a nice wider open area. It's not quite the same like problems that we were talking about for this map with PVZ in that last series, but it definitely can still sometimes be an annoying spread out of bases to try and defend against that multi-pronged aggression later on. But for now, it's just going to be the light little pokes forward of the Hellion until that Widowmine drop, I imagine, gets ready.
Interesting. So Robo right now only used for observers, and then not a Robotics Bay, but a Twilight Council coming down. Well, I think the biggest surprise from this, the biggest risk from this, besides like delayed technology, is that really fast third Nexus, but there's not much that a HeRoMaRinE drop can do about that. If HeRoMaRinE was setting up for a tank push and making Vikings, like actually he could have probably pushed with that, you know, but Medevac, HeRoMaRinEs, they don't push, they harass.
SKillous has seen this Medevac twice now as it tries to move across the map. If he was paying attention, I don't know if he was actually paying attention to the Adepts running underneath the Medevac, because his Stalkers are all still over by the third base. He's at least going to be able to push back the single Hellion, but there's going to be nothing in the main base. Ooh, okay, gets a reaction out quick enough, only loses one worker per HeRoMaRinE. Is not going to be able to punish the Medevac or anything, or the HeRoMaRinEs, but still overall good defense.
Yeah, I even blocked out or was thinking about blocking out a Hellion, it looks like in the natural. This is a bit awkward though for HeRoMaRinE, because he just got like a second scout technically, but it didn't really scout a whole lot. I guess it scouted maybe no robotics production, but it didn't see the Twilight Council, because that's at the front. Or the Forge or anything. So I don't know what's going through his mind, but he's gonna try another HeRoMaRinE drop, and this time even later to the snow. But
oh my god.
Ultimately a good enough split, all right then.
Perfectly calculated and planned.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, so +1 charge on a supercharged third base. Like, this is pretty scary. You know, like, for all the things that get you here, all the potential, you know, attacks you'd have to receive before your charge is done, while you have just observers and probes, it's a scary build. But now that you're here, now that you've got your base up saturated and you're going to have charge and +1, now it's like, oh, snap. Can HeRoMaRinE do something about this without getting overwhelmed? I'm not sure that he can. He's moving out now, trying to time it with Stim, Combat Shields, and +1. But that's as Skillous's gateways start to pump out just non-stop Zealots.
Okay, well, HeRoMaRinE's not going to be able to get too much damage done just yet. Might be able to hit a couple of these Zealots and soften them up, but one of the HeRoMaRinEs does go down. Remember, these are going to be HeRoMaRinEs against a very, very Zealot-heavy army. HeRoMaRinE would love to have every single one of those HeRoMaRinEs alive for any kind of attack that ends up coming out, but this, I mean, this is such a nice little throwback to all of those Protoss players that were like, low gas count, hard on Zealots, super hard on Zealots.
Yeah, but he even skipped Blink, you know? Usually Blink is something that's almost required to go first, but the Zealot number is actually not too high yet. He does actually want to take the fight. HeRoMaRinE forcing the engagement before the amount of Zealots was really where it needed to be. This might just be super easy then.
I think he's just dead, actually. Like, he's gonna have a real miracle defense happen if he manages to somehow push this back. He is starting to get something done over here by pushing back a few units as these Zealots start to rally on forward, but you can see SKillous just does not have anything here anymore to protect these key units. One by one, they fall, and SKillous types out the GG, taps out, and HeRoMaRinE finally gets another one of those